Well, good afternoon. Joe McComb, Mayor, Corpus Christi. We're changing up the format a little bit, so some of you will be surprised out there, but we thought we'd change it up for a couple of reasons. One, the Commissioners Court is meeting. I think they're still in session at this point, but the judge will be over shortly if they get out in time. And second, we've got a couple of things that we wanted to share with the public, and then Peter Zanoni will come up and give you the statistical information concerning the day's activities. Earlier today, we communicated with the GLO, the county judge, and myself, asking for their approval of what we feel like is necessary, and that is the continuance of the restrictions of vehicles on our beach for the next 2 weeks, or until August 31st. Till August the 1st. And so we sought and we received that permission. I got the email from the GLO at 4:08 today, and so when we sign this order, we make it available. We will be restricting access to the public beaches within the Corpus Christi area, basically from sunset to sunrise, from 8:30 p.m. to 6 a.m. It's pretty much the exact orders that we had for July the 4th, but we just feel like with the continuing spread and the growth that we just are trying to reduce as many potential exposure options as we can for the next 2 weeks. And while this won't be popular with some people, it will with others. And you know, I think one time it was Lyndon Johnson said, well, some of my friends are for it and some of my friends are against it, and I'm with my friends. So this decision is based on what I think, and the manager and those of us that have been discussing it, it's in the best interest of the public health and safety of our citizens. And so it will be a little inconvenient, but it's something that we feel like it's significant, and it temporarily limits the vehicular access to the parks and the beaches, like the 4th of July, and it also continues the curfew between effective beginning tomorrow. Actually, well, it begins today, but it realistically tomorrow, since it's after 5 o'clock, until August the 1st. And so the details, and that also goes for North Beach and McGee Beach, and that it contains the no tents being erected over there. You can't occupy chairs, you can't do this. It's basically for exercise if you go to the beach during the daytime hours, walking, jogging, fishing, whatever. So the details of the order will be posted on the website, and we ask for the public's compliance. We do feel like that a significant number of our public is in compliance, and we appreciate that effort very, very much. And but the next 2 weeks are, I think, going to be extremely important to us in trying to get the curve to start going down. On a positive note, we have redirected some funds both to the police department and to the health department that are going to allow some of their folks, and I may join them on some of these. We're going to start a thank you tour in the city. And we're going to go by to restaurants and bars and other establishments, thanking them if we find them in compliance, because compliance is really a significant part of the recovery of this effort. And for those restaurants and bars and other establishments that we've imposed regulations on, whether it be face masks for the employees and the visitors coming in, if they're in compliance in terms of their ratios of people they could have in those facilities, we want to give them an attaboy and tell them thank you. And while we're making our tour, for those that we don't find in compliance, we'll give them a little reminder that they need to be in compliance, and they may very well have another visit relatively shortly to see that they are in compliance. And if not, we're prepared to enforce the provisions within the rules and the order that the government established and we've established that would levy the fines or whatever penalties that are authorized within the legislation or in the orders. We've got to get serious about this implementation and the enforcement. We've been very dependent upon public cooperation, and like I say, the majority of people have, and we thank you for that. And we want to personally thank you. And so we'll be coming. We won't tell you the day or the hour. Everybody likes a surprise. And I'm a highly regulated business in the business I'm in, and the inspectors come to my business in the moving business. They'll come any day that they want to or any time that they want to without notifying me, because I've got certain things I've got to be in compliance with, or I have some penalties or they can shut me down. And so we will be making these visits between now and the end of the month to see for these next 2 weeks that we'd like to up our compliance from whatever it is, 95, 98% to 100%. And we will use whatever means are available to accomplish that goal. But for the 95, 98% of you that are compliant, we want to say thank you and say it in a personal way. And so we look forward to seeing you these next 2 weeks. And the health department through their inspector people and the police department through their people will be coming by on our thank you tour. But we can win this. And then on a personal note, let me encourage people, while we're not making it mandatory to stay at home or the lockdown, that's not mandatory. But what it appears to me like is happening is that it is now pretty much familial contagion. In other words, you're catching it from family members or people close to you. Let me make this suggestion and request. If you think you've got it and you go get tested, stay home until you get results. I think we're taking too many liberties of people that go get the results, particularly in this time where it's taken us anywhere from 7 to 10 to 12 days to get the results. If you're positive, that's 7 to 10 to 12 days, you may very well have been exposing people. So let me encourage you, if you go get tested because you meet all the criteria, please stay home until you get your results. That could help cut down on it. Think about your family and your friends. And so in the days ahead, this next 2 weeks is critical. And if you'll join in the fight doing that, I think we can get a good hold on this downside of the curve. So don't just take for granted, well, I went and got tested, and so I'll just keep going until they tell me not to. Because if that test comes back 10 to 12 days later and you're positive, you have been exposing people for those 12 days. And we don't want that. And you don't want that. So let me encourage you to, if you feel like you need to get tested, go get tested. But then be prepared to stay home and stay out of the public until you get the result. Because we've got to get these numbers under control, and we can. But again, it's your willingness to comply with the rules and the regulations as well as the request. And so we look forward to this next 2 weeks. I'm looking forward to the thank you tour, looking forward to seeing how many people and thanking them for being in compliance in their businesses and whatever they're doing. And those that are not, we're going to warn you. We're not interested in levying fines or penalties. We're interested in compliance. But I can assure you, the governor has said if you don't enforce things at the local level, then he will at the state level. And I think you'd rather have us doing whatever enforcement that we can at the local level rather than bringing in the state. And so we're taking the governor at his word. We're going to pursue that in an aggressive manner. And so I'm looking forward to seeing you and hope to see you soon. And I know you'll be in compliance because our goal is compliance. It's not levying fines or fees. We want compliance because it's the safety and health of our whole community. Mr. Zanoni will now come and give you the daily statistical information and update and introduce what he's going to do. And then I think Annette will be coming either by video or be in person. And then if the judge is able to get out of Commissioner's Court, then she'll be here. So we look forward to seeing you. Just remember that the beaches are basically, in effect, closed now to vehicular traffic. You can still have access. And the concern of for the 4th of July was the parking lot. I think it's Windward Drive parking lot. Was the name of it, Windward Drive? Yeah, Windward Drive. That parking lot will be open. so that that is available for parking. If you go to the island, while you can't take your vehicle down, you will have that parking lot open for you during this next 2 weeks as you do visit the island. So it's still open to people to go out and do their exercising, do their walking, do their jogging, enjoying the beach, but just not vehicular traffic, so we can try to reduce the amount of people and the congestion out there and reduce the number of exposures, opportunities that you have to catch it. But again, if you go test, please stay home and quarantine yourself until you get the results. Thank you.
En resumen, la Corte de Comisionados continúa reunida, por lo que no sabemos si la juez estará con nosotros. Más temprano me reuní con oficiales del Estado para determinar si podemos restringir el acceso vehicular en las playas hasta el 1 de agosto en el área de la costa, de manera parecida a lo que hicimos durante el 4 de julio. Esta decisión es para la seguridad de nuestros residentes y continuaremos el toque de queda de las 8:30 de la noche a las 6 de la mañana, incluyendo las playas McGee y North Beach. Los detalles los vamos a publicar en nuestro portal y vamos a enviar un comunicado. Las próximas 2 semanas van a ser de suma importancia para aplanar la curva. También oficiales de policía van a estar visitando bares y restaurantes agradeciéndoles si están cumpliendo con las reglas, pero para aquellos que no lo hagan, les vamos a dar un recordatorio. En peor de los casos, le vamos a multar si violan las reglas. Le queremos agradecer a aquellos que siguen las reglas porque la gran mayoría sí lo hacen. Déjeme sugerirle algo. Si usted cree que está enfermo y se hizo la prueba y está esperando los resultados, por favor quédese en casa hasta que obtenga los resultados. Así evitará que continúe la propagación del virus y que continúe la exposición a otras personas. Le recordamos que las playas van a estar cerradas a todo el acceso vehicular, pero el estacionamiento Windward va a estar abierto, así que en esa área podrán estacionar sus vehículos si quiere o si necesita acceder a la playa.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Peter Zanoni, Corpus Christi City Manager. And I'm going to go over the statistics for Nueces County for a number of new cases, persons in the hospital, ICU, recovered, a number of deaths. And then I'm going to kind of repeat a little bit about what the mayor said because we have the list of the regional parks and swimming pools that we're going to be closing effective tomorrow morning. And we'll go over the beaches one more time just to make sure it's clear to everybody. Okay, so let's begin with the statistics for Nueces County. And so today is another high count day, a total of 500 additional new positive COVID-19 cases for Nueces County. And that's our second highest number of new cases per day, second to yesterday's 605. And while it's a little less than yesterday, we all know it's not a good number. 500 is totally unacceptable. And it's more than our 7-day average. Our 7-day average on number of new cases is 374. And so 500 surpasses that without any question. I've had some people ask why close access to the beaches and the swimming pools and splash pads. This is why. 600, 500. New cases a day is dangerous for us, for our county. And as the health director told me earlier today, and she'll probably tell us again, the only way we're going to reduce and stop the spread is by not getting out, not going out, not mingling with people. The virus is invisible. We can't see it. We don't know if you have it or not. So the best defense is staying at home as much as possible. Let's look at where we are in terms of active cases versus recovered. So a little bit of progress here in terms of the recovered cases. The 923 in the red orange slice, that shows the number of persons who have recovered from COVID-19. It's up about 250 people since yesterday. So yesterday there were 675 who had recovered. Today it's 923. But you can still see the majority of this donut chart, as we call it, is comprised of the active cases in the county. So over 6,500 persons actively have COVID-19. And if they're following the health district directors and doctors' orders, they should be quarantined at this point in isolation. But nonetheless, 6,500, that's 88% of all the cases are active. Let's look at the number of persons hospitalized. That number has gone up. It went down slightly yesterday, but today it's up 4%. So 339 people are in the hospital today, recovering from COVID-19. Our next chart shows of those persons in the hospital, 106 are in worse shape and they're recovering in ICU. That is up 23 persons from yesterday. So yesterday there were 83, but 23 more are in ICU recovering from COVID. It's a 30% increase, almost a 30% increase from yesterday. And then when we look at our number of deaths, we're up to 70 deaths in Nueces County. There were 6 additional deaths today that have been reported. So yesterday we were at 64 deaths, and today we're at 76 additional have been added. And then when we look at our trend line here, for somebody seeing this for the first time, this plots out the number of new cases per day since the beginning of us counting this, which was April 8th. And you can see that the line, there's really hard to see any blue lines way back there in April, and that's because there were very few. There were a lot of days where we had 0 cases, 2 cases, 5 cases. There was a little bit of a spike there from some of the outbreaks that we had in specific locations. But this is really the issue right here. The number of new cases since July has really gotten out of control. And we had our 600 number, the 500 number. You can see the red trend line. That's a 7-day average trend line that continues to go in an upward trajectory, and the 7-day average number of cases is 374 every day is the average over the past 7 days. Okay, so that's a summary of the statistics. I'm going to see, we're going to advance the slide to the next slide, see what we have. Okay, so let's just recap what the mayor said, because I was watching some of the Facebook posts. And it's a lot of information to digest at one. So vehicular access will be restricted to the city's beaches on the Gulf, right? So there's several points of entry where people can drive onto the beach. The city is going to close those beginning 6 o'clock in the morning tomorrow. And they'll be closed all the way through July 31st or August 1st until 6 a.m. And we're going to reassess it at that point or along the way. We may have to close them even longer, but for right now, that's what we've asked the state permission to do. But if we're having 5, 6, 7, 8, 900 new cases every day on July 31 timeframe, it's quite likely we'll extend this closure. Of course, that would be up to the judge and the mayor, but that's what the conversation has been. So vehicular access is restricted on the beach, onto the beaches on the Gulf side. And what that does mean, though, is people can walk to the beach. There's property owners, hotels, short-term rentals that abut the beach. And so people can walk on the beach or run or bike or fish or swim or sit down in the chair or camp to the extent they can get the equipment there on the Gulf beaches. They can fish as well and bike. I don't know if I said those, but they just can't drive on the beach. And the reason that is that the state controls the beaches. It's in the state constitution. The state is the only one that can technically close the beaches. We can't. The city cannot, nor can the county. But the city can. There's a provision in the law where the city can petition or ask the General Land Office, the GLO, or the state, can we restrict access by closing our roads as a provision in the code? And we can do so if there's a health emergency. And obviously we're in one, and so we've asked the state, and we've been granted the permission to do that, or we will be granted. So that's on the Gulf side. Let's see what just go back one slide if you can. 1 point for those is parking at the Wynwood parking lot. We did close that during the 4th of July, but there was a lot of people complaining, and we'll keep it open for these next 2.5 weeks. There's a smaller parking lot. There's some restroom facilities. You can't drive onto the beach from the parking lot, so it will remain open so persons that may want to walk on the beach can do so by parking there. The bathrooms will be open as well. By closing the vehicular access, it's going to restrict the number of persons really coming into the city and going onto the beach. That's the goal. As an example, on the Memorial Day weekend, we had about 25,000 vehicles go over the bridge onto the beach, the JFK Causeway, and then take that left on 361. Over 25,000 vehicles on a 12-hour period from night until the morning of Saturday on that weekend. With the 4th of July restrictions that we had, there were about 4,000 vehicles on that same time frame from like midnight Friday to 10 o'clock on Saturday. And so that's the goal here. By closing access, there'll be a significant reduction in the number of people coming here and going to the beaches, and ultimately reducing the spread of the virus. Okay, next slide is the curfew. So the curfew is different than the closures. It's on top of. So in addition to closing the beaches to vehicular access, nobody can be on the beach with a curfew at nighttime, basically, beginning around sunset, which is about 8:30 is what's in the order. And then they can resume being on the beach at 6 a.m. the next morning around sunrise. So no persons on the beach with a nighttime curfew. We're able to do a nighttime curfew, and that curfew begins at sundown or 8:30, and it'll be lifted at 6 o'clock. That's every day till the 31st of July. And let's see. Yeah, no, this is for. Okay, so that was the Gulf beaches. Now the city, through a lease with the GLO, controls the Bay beaches. And so that means North Beach and McGee Beach. And you can't drive onto those beaches, you can drive to them. And so on North Beach, what we're going to do is close parking lots and access points to vehicular traffic. And it's a much more porous beach, and there's too many points for us to control access. So our rules will state for these two beaches up here on the bay that no sitting with chairs, no tents, no laying. You have to be active if you're on those two beaches, North Beach and McGee Beach. So that's why this is what this slide addresses here. So as long as you're walking, biking, running, fishing, or swimming, those activities will be permitted on North Beach and McGee Beach. But you can't camp, you can't lay down, you can't social gather, no sitting, no tents. You'll be asked to move along by several different types of city employees over this period of time. You can take all of these to the Gulf Beach, though, right? Just as a reminder, but the Bay beaches, you cannot. These, go back one real quick here. Okay, go to the next one. These are the roads that'll be closed, going back down to the Gulf beaches. Beach marker 62, access road 3A, Newport Pass, Zahn Road, access road 3A, and some of the county roads. We do have to provide ADA accessibility by state law, and so if somebody has a ADA accessible placard, they can park at the Wynwood parking lot to access the beach. They can also get into the parking lot at Whitecap Beach and the Packery Channel. So all those parking lots and access points will be open only to persons that have a handicap or ADA emblem or placard. And we have to do that because we should, but we also have to because of state law. Okay, so in an effort to keep people home and slow the spread, in addition to those beach closures, the city is going to close 8 regional parks. These are big parks in the city that attract a lot of people. And they usually have a lot of amenities. And so some of the smaller neighborhood parks don't fit into this category and will not be closed. But the 8 parks listed there, Bill Witt, Cole Park, Labonte Park, Lakeview Park, the Salinas Park, Parker Park, Water's Edge, and West Guth. Those are the city's 8 regional parks. All those parks are going to be closed to vehicular access. There'll be barricades in front of the parking, in front of the drive entries in. Persons that may want to walk in or bike in can still do that, but no driving into the park, no big groups of people into those parks. The city pools, we're going to close those this time around as well. With 500 and 600 cases a day, it's just we have to do more than what we've been doing. And the pools can have a big number of people. The staff were telling me today that some of our pools right now have 100 children, and that's at 50% capacity. So 100 children, if 2 parents bring each child, that's a lot of people congregating, right? So we're going to close the pools for that same time frame tomorrow, all the way through July 31st. That includes the Collier pool, including the natatorium, the Greenwood pool, the HEB pool, Oso pool, and West Guth pool. So those 6 pools are closed effective tomorrow through July 31. We also have 3 splash pads that we just built and opened up. We're going to close those also for that same time period. That includes the Bill Witt, the one at the Bill Witt Park, the one at our Salinas Park, and then the one at Lindale Park as well. So splash pads will be closed as well. The city does have the Sunrise Beach and RV campsite. That is quite a distance from here up in Mathis. That's where Lake Corpus Christi is and one of our big reservoirs for our water. We do have a picnic and a waterfront and a ability to rent slips for RV or overnight tenting. All those will be closed for this 2.5-week period. So no picnic areas, no waterfront areas, no admittance really. There's some long-term leases. Those will be honored, but no new leases for overnight camping or week camping. And then some of you may have participated in our Safe Fun Fit at the Bayfront. That's a health initiative that we had for several weeks as a way to get people in a safe way out and about and staying fit. And we're going to postpone that through the same time period too. We'll reassess. Right now the plan is August 1. We'll bring that back, but we'll keep it postponed along with these other closures through this time. Okay, let's see, any other slides for me? Oh, okay. There's just a couple other things, and we're going to get Chief Highland up here from our international airport, because we do want to speak about one of our city employees that we lost to COVID-19. But yesterday, a couple persons on Facebook said, hey, if we want to volunteer with anything to do with COVID-19 to help the city out, how do we go about doing that? Who do we call? And so we do have a volunteer person here in the city, and we don't have a list of what persons could do right now if we needed help from a volunteer. But we'll be organizing that as people suggest that they want to help out. And so if you want to volunteer, you want to call our volunteer liaison. Her name's Lisa Wisner. Her name's up here on the board, Lisa Wisner. And she's at 361-826-3336. So 826-3336, Lisa Wisner. She's at Liza, L-I-Z-A-W, at cctexas.com. So call her or email her and leave us your contact information if you don't speak with her. And tell us what you might want to do, and we'll get that organized. But the key thing is, who do we call? We know who to call right here, Lisa. And we'll work with you, the community, if this person's that want to volunteer. Is there one more slide after this one? Okay, there's just one other thing. Yesterday, also on Facebook, there was a lot of chatter on a sporting event, a league tournament that's taking place in Portland, the city of Portland. And that is taking place. We don't control Portland or that county's jurisdiction, so we did speak with the city manager today, and they will continue that league event on this weekend. I think it's 37 teams that are playing youth, girls softball, if I'm not mistaken. And that'll continue. But for the city, we control our limits and our events. So I did check with our parks department today, because we do have several of our ball fields that are leased out to persons to do these types of league events, whether it's baseball or softball. And we don't have any, with the exception of one, that are playing. And since on the onset of COVID, when it hit here, all of them canceled, with the exception of one. And so there's many softball and baseball leagues that play in the city, and they canceled all their their season. Basically, they said we're not going to play given the COVID. We do have one remaining, which is the National Little League, and the staff is still getting me information, but they have games to be played until August 15th is their season. And what we're going to do is we're working with them to close down their games for the next 2.5 weeks. So we're going to restrict access to the field that they typically use. And we'll reassess at the end of July 31 and see if we reopen so they can finish their season. We could close them out for the rest of the season, but we'll see. We'll work with them. So that's the National Little League that plays in one of our fields. That's the only one that plays in the city. And the point is that we're going to restrict access to them so there won't be any tournament games going on, as it does cause a big congregation of kids and adults. Okay, now I have the honor and the privilege to introduce our chief at the airport, Chief Highland. And he's been with the city for over 30 years, Chief? 23? Okay, 23 years at the airport as our chief. At the airport, we have one type of public safety person. They do both fire, EMS, and police type work. And so yesterday we had Chief Mike Markle here, and today we asked Chief Highland to come just to talk a little bit about an unfortunate event where our Lieutenant Bobby Almager, who was an employee at the airport, a lieutenant, he passed away last Friday from COVID-19. He was our first city employee that was impacted in this way and died from COVID-19. And so we asked Chief Highland to give us a few words about him and what they're doing at the airport to keep our city employees safe there. And before, Chief, we're going to wipe this podium down. While you're coming up, Gabby's going to translate a little bit into Spanish. And then after the Chief, we're going to have Annette on live stream. Okay.
Las cifras más recientes indican que en las últimas 24 horas se han reportado 500 casos confirmados por el coronavirus, haciendo un total de 7,532 casos. El día de hoy se reportan 6 fallecimientos, haciendo un total de 70 casos. Me han estado preguntando por qué decidimos cerrar el acceso a las playas y yo les he respondido que las altas cifras de casos positivos es lo que nos guía a realizar estos cierres, esperando que más residentes se queden en sus hogares. Les recordamos el acceso vehicular está restringido en las playas, incluyendo los carritos de golf o cualquier tipo de vehículo motorizado. Las playas están abiertas para los peatones o residentes y pueden ir a nadar, caminar o hacer ejercicio y así como pescar. El Estado es la entidad que puede cerrar por completo las playas, pero lo que nosotros podemos hacer es restringir el acceso vehicular, de igual manera como lo hicimos el 4 de julio. La meta es tener menos gente reunida en grupos. Durante el fin de semana del Día Memorial se registraron más de 20,000 vehículos en el área de la isla, mientras que durante el fin de semana del 4 de julio solamente 4,000. Recuerde, va a haber toque de queda diariamente hasta el 1 de agosto de 8:30 de la noche a las 6 de la mañana. Las playas incluyen McGee y North Beach. No está permitido estar en la arena sin hacer nada o estar en grupos. Las playas de Golfo incluyen desde el acceso 2 hasta el camino rural número 6. Existen accesos para discapacitados en los estacionamientos de Whitecap, Windward y Packery Channel. 8 parques de la ciudad también van a estar cerrados. Las albercas van a estar cerradas ya que ha habido mucha gente, aunque solo esté limitado al 50% de su capacidad. Las áreas conocidas como splash pads también van a estar cerradas. Sunrise Beach, en el lago de Corpus Christi, también va a descontinuar los campamentos y áreas de picnic. Safe Fun Fit va a estar pospuesto hasta el próximo aviso. Si usted quiere ayudar en este esfuerzo y quiere ser voluntario, se le pide llamar al número 826-3336 o mediante correo electrónico a la dirección lisaw@cctexas.com.
I want to thank City Manager Zanoni for allowing me to speak here today. My name is John Hyland. I am the chief at the airport for the Public Safety Department. The reason I'm here today is to speak on behalf of the airport family and Lieutenant Almager's family. He was a 24-year-old veteran of the department at the airport. He attained a Master Structural Fire, Aircraft Rescue firefighter, a Master Peace Officer. He was an EMT, an instructor, and he was part of our crisis intervention team. Public Safety Department, for those that don't know, is responsible for responding to any and all emergencies at the airport. Officers become cross-trained and are responsible for the safety and security of almost 1 million people a year who fly in, fly out, who come to do business, who work at the airport, who are greeters, who drop people off. If I had to sum up Lieutenant Almaguer in one word, I would probably have to use the word selfless. To be concerned more with the needs of others than one's own, to be considerate towards others. Be selfless and know that your behavior can impact the innocent people that are around you. Every time you come into contact with a first responder, a healthcare worker, somebody where you buy your groceries or pump your gas, you could potentially pass that virus along to them or their families. I could never imagine being standing here today at this podium talking about Lieutenant Almaguer, about how he was a beacon of light out at the airport. That beacon helped people through trying times. He trained numerous officers and prepared them to be better public servants. Pilots know that you can always find the airport by locating the beacon, especially when it's low visibility or when you have an emergency like your instrument panel stops working. Bobby was much more than a beacon or even a PSO. He was a husband, a father, a brother, and he was my friend. Be selfless, like how Bobby lived his life. Stay isolated if you are sick. Help make our jobs a little easier in the community, a little safer. To all the agencies that have offered condolences to both Bobby's family and the airport community, we thank you. I would also like to personally thank Chief Rocha at the Corpus Christi Fire Department and Chief Markle and Chief Schauer at the Corpus Christi Police Department for their continual support in their suffering from their own losses currently. To all first responders and healthcare workers, thank you for what you're doing. We owe you a debt of gratitude. Keep Lieutenant Almaguer, his family, and the fellow officers in your thoughts and prayers. Know that we're doing our part at the airport to try to keep people safe. We worry about the contact surfaces. We continually clean. We have a lot of our employees that are working from home, social distancing, and I'm happy to report that when you look out at the passengers that are flying in and out of the airport, most people are wearing masks and complying, and everybody is being very helpful in that matter. So keep the thoughts and prayers, the airport and Lieutenant Almaguer's family in your forefront, and know that no prayers are ever wasted. Thank you and stay safe.
Estoy aquí para hablarles a nombre de los empleados del aeropuerto. El teniente Bobby Almaguer contaba con 24 años en el Departamento de Seguridad Pública del aeropuerto. Él era bombero especializado en rescates en aeroplanos, era paramédico y oficial, así como instructor. Él también formaba parte del equipo de intervención durante crisis. Los oficiales atienden cualquier tipo de emergencias en el aeropuerto. El teniente Almaguer era muy considerado con los demás, era desinteresado y ayudaba mucho a otras personas. Él entrenó a un sinnúmero de oficiales. Él era un esposo, padre y sobre todo un amigo. Ayúdenos a que nuestro trabajo sea más fácil y siga las precauciones. Asimismo, le quiero agradecer a los elementos de emergencia y primeros auxilios. Nosotros hemos hecho lo posible por mantener el aeropuerto limpio y desinfectado. Así los viajeros estarán seguros.
Good afternoon. Annette Rodriguez, Health Director. This is an official message from the Corpus Christi Nueces County Public Health District. The Health District wants to inform you that the results came back positive for COVID-19. That means that you do have the coronavirus. You must isolate yourself immediately. Isolation is necessary for 14 days from the first day that you started showing symptoms. Isolation protects others from getting sick. You must also make a list of anyone that you have come in contact with. starting 2 days before you started feeling sick up until today. You must call each of these contacts and tell them that you tested positive and that they must now be quarantined for the whole entire 14 days by order of the health department. Also, inform your employer. It is important that they know because there are certain things they need to do with that information in order to keep others from getting sick. You can only be released after the 14 days if these three things happen. Number one, your fever has been resolved for at least 3 consecutive days without taking Tylenol or other fever-reducing medications. Number 2, your other respiratory symptoms such as your cough, your shortness of breath have improved. And finally, at least you've gone 10 days from the day that you became, that you were put in isolation, 10 days have passed. If after 14 days you meet that criteria, you may then and only then be released. But, and there's always a but, if you have other family members that are positive for COVID-19, you cannot be released until the last person that has become ill has now fully recovered with those 3 things that I just previously mentioned. If you have any further questions, please visit our website at www.cctexas.com/coronavirus, or you may call us back at 361-826-7200. The health district made 605 of these calls yesterday. Please do not be the next individual to receive that same message. Because the number of new cases are now so high, we're having to alert citizens through reverse alert, even if they're positive. Before, we would call every individual and we would give them that same message, and then we would allow time for them to ask us questions, which they have many questions. Now, because we have hit 605 yesterday and 500 today, there are way too many cases for the health district staff to be able to call every individual positive and talk to them individually. Our staff are talking all day long on the phones. Our phone bank answers about 600 incoming calls per day. Our staff call out around 400 people a day to actually set them up for our drive-through, like the one we're having tomorrow. In addition to that, we called out 605 positive cases yesterday to notify them that they were positive. This is a total of 1,600 cases that we're having to talk to people on one day. That is an excessive number of phone calls. Be patient with us. We are doing our very best to keep everybody informed. And we need to make sure that the positives know exactly what they need to do. But we don't want you to join the 7,532 other positives here in Nueces County. Please don't be the next person on the list to be called with the devastating news that you have COVID-19. I also want to extend my condolences to the 6 individuals that lost their battle to COVID-19 today. Wash your hands, social distance from each other, and better yet, just stay home. Stay safe, stay social distanced, stay negative, and as always, stay informed. Thank you.
El Distrito de Salud Pública del Condado de Nueces quiere informarle que recientemente pasó por nuestra toma de especímenes móvil y sus resultados fueron positivos para el COVID-19. Esto significa que tiene el coronavirus. Debe aislarse de inmediato. El aislamiento es obligatorio durante 14 días a partir del primer día en que comenzó a mostrar síntomas. El aislamiento protege a otros de enfermarse. También debe hacer una lista de todas las personas con las que ha estado en contacto, 2 días antes de comenzar a sentirse mal hasta ese día. Debe llamar a cada uno de esos contactos y decirles que dio positivo y que ahora deben permanecer en cuarentena durante 14 días por orden del Departamento de Salud. También informe a su empleador, porque ellos necesitan informar a otros y es lo correcto. Usted puede dejar la cuarentena si ha sucedido lo siguiente. Primero, la fiebre ha cesado durante 3 días sin tomar Tylenol u otros medicamentos para reducir la fiebre. Segundo, otros síntomas respiratorios han mejorado. Y tercero, han transcurrido al menos 10 días desde que aparecieron los primeros síntomas. Si después de 14 días cumple con este criterio, puede dejar la cuarentena, excepto si otras personas en su hogar están enfermas o con síntomas. No será hasta que ellos también hayan superado los síntomas que todos podrán dejar la cuarentena. Si tiene preguntas adicionales, visite nuestro portal a la dirección www.cctexas.com/coronavirus o llámenos al 826-7200. Debido a un incremento en el número de casos positivos, esa información la hemos estado enviando a través de un mensaje por el sistema Reverse Alert. Nuestro personal ha estado ocupado realizando todas las llamadas. Tan solo en los últimos 2 días han sido más de 1,000 llamadas. Sé paciente con nosotros y si es positivo al virus, haga su parte y no continúe propagándolo.
Okay, that concludes our prepared remarks for today. Nueces County Judge Barbara Canales is here. They just finished Commissioner's Court, and she'll take any questions, as well as myself, from the media.
Beach closers, does this include pins also?
So we're working, as we've done this twice already, Memorial Day and 4th of July, where we coordinated with the Padre Island National Seashore. That's a federal beach, and we've put a request into them today, and they have to run it up the chain, so to speak, I think all the way to Washington, in fact, this time. And so they're working on that request, and we don't have their answer yet. The goal is to include Padre Island National Seashore, but the federal government, the National Park Service, has to make that determination. And so we have asked them to be consistent with our order at the same nature, the same dates and times. And we think they'll be supportive. They've been a great partner in the past 2 times. And so we just don't have their answer right now, but we'll have it soon.
Thank you.
Okay? Hi.
Do we have any data on COVID deaths that, like people who are dying at home as opposed to hospitals?
I don't have statistics with me, but I know last week there were several cases where persons actually passed away at home.
Mm-hmm.
And some of our EMS staff actually picked them up. And we can have Annette respond more directly to that, but that is happening. There's several deaths that have taken place at home. And it is. I can confirm that it is. I just don't have a number for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
And do we know how many CC80 COVID positives there are too
How many? Who?
for the Corpus Christi airport?
The airport? What's that?
Yes. Sorry.
The Army Depot? Oh, the CCAD?
Yes.
How many positive cases at CCAD? Do you know, Judge?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a number. I know that we had at least one last week,
Mhm.
and I haven't been told if there's any more. But I would refer to Mark Wagner. He can help you. He's the civilian in charge of CCAT.
Yeah.
Thank you, Judge.
Just in case the viewing audience couldn't hear, the question was, are there any persons at the Corpus Christi Army Depot who have tested positive for COVID?
Mhm.
And the response from the judge was that we think at least we know at least one person, and we don't have the exact number.
Cool.
Yeah.
And the others were for Annette, who is sitting
Okay,
out here,
yeah,
so
that's, okay,
Thank you.
all right. Okay, any other questions? Okay, well, we appreciate the viewers. We had a good viewership on Facebook today, and this is a lot of information. The orders that the judge and the mayor will sign or have signed are on our websites. We'll continue to put information out. We're going to do a media release that has all this in writing that'll be released momentarily. And we know the media outlets, we appreciate you covering it, both TV, newspaper, radio, internet, social media, and so on. So there's plenty of ways to get the information. We'll be back here again tomorrow at 5. And that concludes our presentation for today. Thank you.